Hey friends, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing 10 French country projects using Dollar Tree supplies and a couple of thrifted finds. Now let's make something beautiful for our homes. For this project we're going to be using odds and end items from the Dollar Tree, a trash can, an oven cover, a plastic champagne flute glass, a little serving bowl, and then also this ring card holder. You can get this in their wedding section, and then a lid for a mason jar. We're going to bring all of these together to create a beautiful cloche wire decor piece. So I'm going to be using E6000 and hot glue on all of the things that I'm bringing together because that creates the greatest hold for long-term and short-term while the E6000 is drying. Once I have the bowl and the champagne cup on the bottom of that tray that you can use to cover up your oven burners, then we're going to go ahead and move on to the top. I'm going to put on that card placeholder onto the mason jar lid and then add that onto the trash can. Now we want to make sure it really locks in well, so I'm going to come inside the trash can and also add some more hot glue. Once everything was glued together, I simply took it outside and spray painted it a light gray, which made it so pretty. It is such a fun thing to be able to use for decor, and you can style it however you want and other holidays because it's such a neutral color. This project is so easy to do, and it's so cute because you can do all different types of things with it. I've picked up 3 of these little gold frames from the Dollar Tree, some of these keys from Amazon, I'll link them down below, and then I'm going to use my paper pad that I've just been using all this season. It's the Maggie Holmes Collection Garden Party. I'm going to use this tag paper, and I'm going to cut out the size that I need for the 3 different frames, and I'm just going to glue that right onto the backing of the frame. I've decided to use the glass at the front of the frame just like how you normally would put a picture in and put the backing on it because I found that it made the keys stick to it a lot better than trying to stick it to the paper. I just liked how it looked better. So I'm going to go ahead and use some E6000 and I'm going to put that on the key as gently and cleanly as possible. And then I'm going to just take those keys and I'm going to glue them onto the front of the glass. I think these are so cute. I actually saw this at a super expensive Farmhouse decor store. You guys, they were charging $25 for these key frames. I giggled. I try so hard to be respectful in those stores because I love getting the ideas there, but I just can't get over the prices that they charge for things sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, thank you for the inspiration. I just can't pay those prices. So go ahead and glue down your different keys with different pattern papers behind it. And then when you're done, these are so cute to put as a cluster on a bookshelf in your home somewhere. Grab one of these beautiful bevel-edged boxes from the Dollar Tree wood section, one of these glass votive candle holders, some foam, and then some greenery. I've said this a million times here on my channel, but I like picking up the long garland greenery from Hobby Lobby when they're on sale, and it goes a long way for about $10. So once I've got all my supplies put to the side, I'm going to go ahead and paint my box black. You can paint it whatever color you want. I say that a lot here on my channel. I'm a big believer in people customizing things the way they want them to look. But I'm going to go for a French country look with this project. I'm going to use my scraper. I love this tool. I will link it down below. It is like the best little tool. It takes stickers off, even the most stubborn ones, so easily, and the blade on it is plastic. I also thought I would show this key. I get asked about this all the time here on my channel. I was starting a new bottle of E6000. Whenever I start a new one, I always try to show the key because people ask all the time, what is that thing on your E6000 bottle? It just slips on the bottom and then when you twist it, it helps squeeze out all of the glue. Now, if you've never used an E6000 bottle before, I thought I would show this process. When you take off the lid, it's sealed, and at the top of the cap, there's a little pointy part. You push that down into it, and it starts your bottle. All right, I'm going to use E6000 on the bottom of my glass, and I'm also going to come in with some hot glue. The hot glue is for a quick hold, and the E6000 is for a long time hold. So I'm going to just add that right to the bottom, couple of dots of both of these adhesives, and then I'm going to center it and push it down into place. Now the E6000, you can see it's still drying in there, but the hot glue is already holding it in place. That's why I like using both. Go ahead and sand all the corners, anywhere where there's a corner. This is going to give us that French country look. And then once I've got everything sanded to my liking, I'm going to come back in with some foam. You can totally skip this part. You can add in some rocks or some sand. That would both be absolutely gorgeous to put inside of this little voted box. But I'm going to go ahead and go with some foam. I'm going to sneak that down in there, little pieces of it, and then glue it into place. I like greenery in my home, so this is why I'm going with this look. But that's the fun part about these projects, is that you honestly can do whatever you want. You just take the idea and run with it and have fun. And then once that's all glued into place, I have a trick. Whenever I work with these garlands, they don't have wire in the actual leaves. So what I like to do when I'm using this garland with foam is I like to punch holes in it, just like this, with using a needle nose plier. And that's going to allow me to put the glue down in there, and it's going to allow the greenery from the garland to stick in there very easily without having to worry about, you know, shoving it into that foam. It doesn't go in as easily because there's no wire in the greenery parts of the garland. And what I also like to do, I've learned this over time, if you put the greenery stem into the hot glue, it actually will start to melt it. So I like to add my hot glue first, and I let it sit for about a second or two while I cut off the greenery, and then I put those little greenery leaf stems down in there. At that point, it's not going to have any problems with it melting the greenery. It sticks in there perfectly, and you'll have a beautiful project that is not too difficult to try to get the greenery down in the foam. So you can see here I'm putting about 1 to 2 inside each of those holes, and I'm also bringing in a second greenery piece. It's these little leaves. I just like to add different types of leaves whenever I work on projects like this. I feel like it makes it look more realistic, and this will end up, when we're finished, making it look like something you would see at Pottery Barn, or definitely something at Kirkland's. They have this look to a lot of their decor pieces, and they charge so much. This is $1.25 box, $1.25 piece of glass, and then some greenery and foam. So I'm going to come in with some Spanish moss. I can't help myself. I love this stuff. If it's not your thing, skip it. There's no offense if you don't want to use the Spanish moss, but I love how it looks with the greenery. Once you've got that all together, add a candle, and it will become a beautiful decor piece to put in your home. I saw a wreath online that had very similar things to these supplies. Some ribbon, a heart wreath form. This pick is from Walmart, as well as these other florals here. And then the greenery is a mixture of some stuff from Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby. So we're going to start by taking our ribbon, and we're just basically going to create a base for everything to go into, because if you've ever worked with these wire forms before, they're kind of hard to make flowers glue on. It'll take forever to get things to stick. So the ribbon's going to give you something to jump off of. Now, my inspiration was a real wreath with real florals at a wedding reception, and I knew that we could make it with faux flowers and look just as beautiful and realistic. So we're going to add some greenery and some more greenery and some more greenery, and then we're going to come in with these beautiful soft pink florals. These flowers are from, again, Walmart. And we're going to just cut them down, tuck them in, and we're going for a very wispy, whimsical looking wreath like I saw in my inspiration. I want it to feel dainty. I want it to feel realistic. So make sure that you have lots of greenery to it and add in some of those wildflowers that have little pops of white and yellow. It is the most beautiful, soft, and just lovely overall wreath to hang up on a door anywhere in your home. When you're all done, add some twine to the back to be able to hang it up. I went online to Amazon and I found this pack of 100 round wooden clothespins. I love home decor that is out of the box thinking, and it just looks so cute on a decor shelf or placed in certain areas around your home. And I'm going to be using 7 of them, but you really could cluster together as many as you would like. Now, my inspiration came from a boutique. I saw these in a boutique and they charged so much for them, which again, friends, this is the easiest DIY, and you get this really rustic farmhouse chic look for pennies. So I'm going to just hot glue them into place, the 7 of them, and then I'm going to take some twine, wrap it around about 4 or 5 times until I get the thickness I want, and then I'm going to go ahead and just simply tie a knot. Now, you could stain these, but I'm going to be doing a whitewash on mine. I decided that I liked that look more than staining them darker. I use a lot more white in my home, so I'm going to just take my paintbrush and very ever so lightly just tap little bits of white paint around the twine, and then I'm going to come on and very lightly add on some white paint at the ends, the tops, things where paint would naturally get on them, or just if your hands were kind of dirty or whatever, over time that it would just kind of pick up that on that surface. And if I had too much of it, I went ahead and came back in with my sanding block and I just sanded off the extra from it. Now the cool thing about these is that you can place them in a bowl, you can put them in a large mason jar. It really just adds the coolest home decor look to a shelf, to a table, and it's so beautiful and easy to recreate. Grab 3 of the smallest boxes from the Dollar Tree and this free printable that I'm going to be providing you with a link down below in the description box where you can grab that. This is a really beautiful printable with some vintage birds on it. I think birds are one of those universal animals that I love keeping in my home all year long. And what we're going to do is we're going to just trim these down to fit inside the box. Now what I like to do, the easiest, quickest way to do it, is I make a cut and then I line it up to see that it sneaks into the box, and I just keep going until I get the first one sized down to the right size that I need. And then I'm going to take that bird that I just cut out and I'm going to lay it on top of the other printables. This makes it really quick to be able to cut them all out to the right size. Make sure you flip over the box and take off the tags. I always like removing all the tags before I start painting. Once you've got the tags removed, I'm going to go ahead and paint these boxes black. Now you can paint them any color you want, but I really love the beautiful look of a high-end French country style, and that has a lot of black in it, a lot of black and a really beautiful blue. So I'm going to paint these black first, but then I'm going to sand down the sides, and you're going to see me do that in a second. So I just give them one coat because these absorb the paint really well. Once everything is painted and dried, then took some rough sandpaper, grit sandpaper, and I'm just gonna, wherever there's a corner or an edge, I'm gonna sand it down to give it that French country look. Go ahead and just rough up the sides a little bit wherever you feel is the look you're going for, or not. Some people don't like to sand down the edges, but again, I like that French country look. So I'm just going to sand all of those corners, and now I'm going to move on to my prints. So instead of using the Mod Podge, I'm going to be hitting the printable with some hairspray. That's going to lock in the ink from the ink printer. And then I'm going to go ahead, let that dry, and it flattens out, but I'm going to have to, you know, smooth it out just a little bit because it does kind of want to wrinkle, but not enough where it destroys the image. I like using hairspray for this exact purpose because it locks in the ink and it doesn't cause anything to smudge or have issues. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a lot of adhesive to the back with my tape gun, and I'm going to go ahead and add those images into the box so that way it has a sealed finish to the actual image. Once they have all been glued inside of the boxes, aren't these so cute? This is just pennies to make these. They're so beautiful, and decor stores sell these for so much. Flip over the back side, and I'm going to add some little marking spots where I'm going to add some twine so I can hang these up on a wall with a tiny nail, or you could even just set them up on a shelf. That would be really beautiful too. I'm going to add some hot glue, come in with my small cut down piece of twine, glue that into place, and then add a little bit more hot glue on top of it so it locks it all into place. Once those are done, they're ready to be displayed in your home for a beautiful budget-friendly cost using Dollar Tree supplies. This transformation is so fast, don't blink because you're gonna miss it. So we're gonna start with this really pretty metal lantern that was just forgotten, and I think it is so beautiful, this pattern and texture on the front of it. So I took it outside and gave it a really pretty green color spray with my spray paint, and now I'm just coming back in with some white paint, and I'm bringing back in some of that texture to make it pop and really stand out. My inspiration for this DIY came from Antique Farmhouse. I loved this metal scoop, but would never pay that much for a metal scoop. So I'm going to use some items from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to build our very own, showing all the steps on how I put this together. I'm going to take a leftover dowel stick that I had from the Dollar Tree from another project, and I'm going to take 2 of these long plaque signs from the Dollar Tree, as well as 4 or 5 of these long tongue depressor sticks that I get from Walmart. Then I'm going to cut down my dowel to 2 handles that I'm going to be using because I'm going to be making 2 shovels for myself. And then once I sanded out the ends and it's nice and smooth, I went ahead and got the large tongue depressor sticks, and I'm going to simply sketch a curved end like the inspiration. It was rounded at the end. And I'm going to take my scissors and just simply cut that part off, and then make sure the other end is the right length of the plaque. Once I have that all settled, I went ahead and traced that another time for the opposite side. And since I'm making 2, I actually traced 4 of these. So I went ahead and repeated that, cut those ends off that I don't want or need. And then at that point I was ready to start assembling the sides. So I added a bead of glue, and then I took that siding and I lined it up, and I wanted to make sure there was a little bit overhang on the back because we're going to sandwich on the back part, and I'm going to show you how to make it even stronger. Then on the inside I'm going to add some hot glue to strengthen it to make sure that it's holding nice and tight. Then on the end I'm going to take another one of the sticks, And I'm going to make sure that it's going to be long enough to sandwich between the sides. I wanted to be able to make sure that it would fit in there, because I'm actually going to add another piece to the back to strengthen it. This sandwiching it in is really going to allow this to become a lot stronger and to hold in place. So once I had that part in there, I went ahead and traced another one, and I'm going to put that on the back. But before I did that, I added in some more hot glue in those corners to really strengthen it. And then at that point, I took another one and cut it longer to fit all the way across the whole back. So it's going to come all the way past that part where I sandwiched the one in between. It's just a hair longer than the other one. And then I'm going to bring it nice and tight as I can together to make sure the seam is very minimal. At this point, this thing is so sturdy on the back side that if you pick it up with the handle, there's not going to be any problems, and it really was brought together nicely. Now we're going to go ahead and put the handle on our little scoop shovel. I'm going to actually drill a hole. This doesn't have this in the inspiration. I thought it would be cool to drill a hole in it, because then you can hang these up on some type of a cute rack to display them. Or, I don't know, I just like the twine on the end. Personally, it's just my preference and style for this project. Then I'm going to use a smaller drill out a hole in the middle of it to get that for the screw that we're going to be using in just a second. I'm going to take my Crop-A-Dile just because I have this tool on hand and I don't want to cause any issues with these popsicle sticks. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my screw in and get it started. Then I'm going to take my dowel and screw that on just a little bit to get it going. And then drill down in there a little bit more. Now before I locked everything into place, I decided I wanted the handle to be even stronger. So I went ahead and also grabbed some of my wood glue, so that way I can kind of put that down in there a little bit to make sure it was really going to bond and glue and hold nicely to the shovel base. So you can see here that I'm just kind of twisting that little bit around, making sure the glue is all the way around it. And then I went ahead and screwed the last in to tighten the handle. At this point, we have created the official size and look of our inspiration. So now we can go ahead and start working on the color. I used a lot of brown, and then I added in some black, not too much of black. We want to still have the brown popping through. Painted that whole thing with a really dark brown color. Then I came back in with a light brown and dry brushed it to give it a little bit of a rusty textured look. And then I'm adding in a little bit of the white to dry brush on that. And then I just kind of roughed it up where I wanted it to, added back in some more texture until I was happy with the look. Now I'm going to go ahead and add on my twine. I just came through and did a simple knot. And at this point, I think it's a pretty good knockoff from what the inspiration was. And I made these so much more affordable than what the inspiration was from the store. Now I would not recommend scooping them with food, but definitely as home decor, mine was $2 versus $26. For this next inspiration, again, it comes from Antique Farmhouse, a site I love. They wanted $112 for these frames. That is so much money. We're going to make them for so much less. I have these printables here to share with you all today. We're going to be using the white hydrangea pictures, and down below in my description box. But what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 frames from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to take our printable and we're going to cut it down to size to fit inside the frame. Now you can stop there and make it as easy as can be by just putting these pictures into the frame, or we can try to match the colors that were in the inspiration. So I went outside, I spray painted them an ivory creamy white, and then after that was all nice and dry, I came back in and dry brushed on brown and white to give it that blonde wood color that is very popular right now in farmhouse home decor. It was so easy to do, and we're going to save ourselves so much money. Now I will say the inspiration frames were a lot bigger, and they do have bigger frames at the Dollar Tree. I've seen them before. This is just what I had on hand, and even still, we saved ourselves so much money. Don't forget to grab the free printable. It's linked down below. It'll take you to my website where you can download it for free. Remember to grab the printable. It's linked down below in my description box. I hope that you enjoyed this video today and these French country ideas. They're so easy to recreate for your own home. Thank you all so much for being here today. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and check out this video if you missed it. It came out just the other day and I think you might like it. And until the next episode, bye friends.